and we get to magnify God. Y'all was singing. And we are so excited to hear such feedback, and when we're worshiping, it does something for me. I don't know if we can get the house lights up. That'd be great. We are so thankful, again, for our time together. Each time we gather, a couple of announcements, and I'm going to get out of your way. The book is available right outside in the lobby area. Pick it up. I think there are limited copies available. So, babe, can I give this to you? And you can just make sure they get that to the bookstore, because I have my copy already. So if they need an extra copy, there they go. And so we thank you, and also happy to have my wife with me today, man. We've been weathering a storm of just getting our bodies together, and so she is healthy and she is ready to rock and roll. So I got my boo with me. Also, I'm so grateful for each of you who are here today, worshiping with us again. So many wonderful people. Mom Collier had her 30th birthday, and we're so glad. And let's just give her a hand. 70 going on 30, so we thank God for you. We are up a couple of things I want to say, and then I'll get out and get right into the Word of God. In fact, you know what? Let's just get right to the Word, because I got to preserve my voice. I don't know what the first service worked me, man. I'm going to start taxing them. Yeah. We've been talking about the series Half-Hearted, and last week we talked about half-hearted discipleship. Why the world is questioning our faith is oftentimes not because God isn't showing his power, but it is because the disciples aren't fully engaged. As a result of our lack of engagement, we're not seeing the power flow through us and the miracles flow through us. And we're wondering, well, God, where are you in our personal lives? And God is saying, I will do more for you if you're present, if you're engaged, and if you allow me to grow you and flow through you. That's a great truth to this reality, that the more you get attached to God, the more he flows and operates through your life. So then, if there is no power being displayed in your life, then the problem is not with God. It is in your availability. It is in your willing to be molded and shaped by God, even in times of difficulty. That was last week, half-hearted discipleship. Today, we're dealing with half-hearted faith. Half-hearted faith. And the premise of this is simple. Most of you all are fighting the greatest battle of your life with faith. Is God real, and does he apply, or is he applicable and relevant to my 21st century problems? I want to jump on in, because we're going to deal with the book of James a little bit more extensively today, like we dealt with last week. We're going to jump more into the book of James. We're going to talk about the problem, the purpose, and the promise. But our faith in God today, and our faith in Christianity in general, is a place of great testing in today's open communication marketplace. I will admit, these are some difficult times, not impossible times, not petty times, but difficult times in leading God's people during this marketplace of multiplied noise. Have y'all noticed the amount of noise that's out there? To the point that if you turn your phones on, there's noise, there's problems, there's people proclaiming stuff that they're not living by. There are people vying for your attention, trying to get you on their train of nowhere. There's a lot of noise in the world today. There used to be a level of comforted as a pastor, that the people of God would stay connected from Sunday to Sunday. But now, the snipers are more committed than ever. Soon as you post you're at church, they are ready to pounce. Soon as you talk about God, they are positioned to somehow create distortion and further noise to your faith. And sometimes, my brothers and sisters, it's not people. No, it's not people. It's the overwhelming weight of the problems you're dealing with from day to day. Many of you are facing unprecedented burdens. Fear and panic are on the rise. Our government don't want to tell us we're in a recession. They don't want to have us going crazy and worried. There's so much we've got to deal with and pivot, so many burdens and problems. And I'm here to tell you that although it's new to us, it's not new to the world. In fact, the book of James, James is the half-brother of Jesus, he writes about this, and he talks about our faith being tested in the midst of a cannonball explosion of questions. Is God real? Does he apply it to my current problem? And should I stick with the Jesus train? And you don't have to even shake your head, but I know you're fighting that. I know there is a constant battleground of if your faith is worth the sacrifice. There are people who will put one post up about your faith, and it might have relevance to a degree, and then the enemy jumps on that and pounces on that. You know, I was just looking a few weeks ago, and someone says, who would have thought that I'd waste one of my Sundays and spend it in church? And people pounced on that post, and yeah, me too. I quit going when I was 15 years old, when I learned the truth. And they're living an empty life. And our faith is constantly being challenged and even personally challenged. I want to share with you what James, the half-brother of Jesus, says to the 12 tribes of Israel. He says this, and I'll be pulling from James 1:2. It's in your handout. If you didn't get one, our ushers will help you with one. We're going to read this in its entirety, then I'm going to break it down. My fellow believers, when it seems as though you're facing nothing but difficulties, see it as an invaluable opportunity to experience the greatest joy that you can. For you know that when your faith is tested, it stirs up in you the power of endurance. And then, as your endurance grows even stronger, it will release perfection into every part of your being until there's nothing missing and nothing lacking. Verse 5, and if anyone longs to be wise, ask God for wisdom, and he will give it. He won't see your lack of wisdom as an opportunity to scold you over the failures, but he will overwhelm your failures. My God, I want to preach that so bad, with his generous grace. Verse 6, just make sure you ask empowered by confident faith without doubting that you will receive. For the ambivalent, which is the undecided person, believes 1 minute and doubts the next. Being undecided makes you become like the rough seas driven and tossed by the wind. You're up 1 minute and tossed down the next. Now let's just be honest. How many of us have been there before? Up 1 minute, down the next. Making declarations of our faith 1 minute, struggling with depression the next. Happy that God gave us the door of opportunity with the job, regretting we ever got the job the next. The Apostle James talks to what I consider to be a parallel principle of his day, which can be equivalent to the problems of our day. It's no different, it's just different. It's just represented differently. It's no different, same principle, same concept, same parallel. He makes it clear as he's writing to the 12 tribes of Israel who were scattered all over the map. They were all over the place because persecution had driven them to hiding. Some of them were just trying to find an oasis, a rest spot, some place that they can literally breathe because of the persecution that was on the Christians at that time. And James does not bite his tongue. James says, I know y'all going through, and I know it's difficult. Now let's talk about what he brings out. Problem, purpose, promise. And we're going to look at the verses. I'm going to have you refer to that verse up top as I reference it under the title problem. Notice he brings out the problem of their day. He says, my fellow believers. Notice he's talking to the faith, people of faith, the church. My fellow believers, when it seems as though you are facing nothing but difficulties. He's saying these difficulties that don't seem to let up. One after another, day after day, new enemy after new enemy, new betrayer after new betrayer, bill after bill, sickness after sickness. You get the house fixed, and then the car goes out. And then you get the car fixed, then the tires need to be replaced. Get the tires replaced, then your child has a broken arm. Then after the child's broken arm heals, then all of a sudden you have this and this and this and this. Anybody been there? Nothing but difficulties. James says, if you are there, we were there. This is when you feel like it isn't worth it, that life isn't worth it, that faith isn't worth it, that attending worship isn't worth it. It is where you ask if God is real, where your strength is gone, and you're down to your last little bit of hope because you've seen nothing but difficulties. James outlines the believer's walk has been comprised of seamless. Notice what he says. I'm offended by James. Notice what he says in verse 2. Just look at it. You ain't got to read it. Just look at it. He says, when, my fellow believers, when it seems. Whoa, hold on, bro. What you mean it seems? This is real. But James, as a leader, is not speaking from the place of defeat. He's speaking from the place of victory. And when you switch your mindset, you start understanding what the language is. He's not speaking as though you're not going through something real. James is saying, I know it's real, but I'm speaking from the place of victory. And what is he saying then, preacher? He is saying, this too will pass. Because for you, it looks like it's unending. But James says, been there, done that. I'm on the other side of it, and I'm here to tell you, it looks unending, but it will have an expiration to it. That's the problem. He brings the problem. Every paper writer, every person in English 101 will tell you that in order to write a paper, you need a thesis statement. James says the thesis statement is, I know y'all ready to give up. Have you been there? All of us have. Now, here's the purpose. He says, let's break this down. He says in verse 2, the second part, he says, see it as an invaluable opportunity to experience the greatest joy that you can. What is it? Come on, talk to me. What is it? Those unending difficulties, those problems, those setbacks, those unexpected trials. He says, see it as an invaluable opportunity to experience the greatest joy. James is not saying that we have to pretend there is no pain in the trial, but what he is saying is we should practice patience in action and look for the positives in the situation. And patience isn't waiting till it's over. Patience is having faith in God in spite of it enduring. Faith and patience go hand in hand. It says, God, I trust you. I believe you. And now James brings this home. He is saying, see this moment as development. Okay, what? He says, see it as an invaluable opportunity to experience the greatest joy. He's saying, you have two options here. Either you buckle and break under it, or you see the valuable opportunity in it. Now, this is what baffles me, because what James is saying is that God is using what I'm dealing with to develop me. All right. In order for you to grow, God has to piggyback on trials and tribulations. Because left to your own devices, you won't grow. I'm going to get to church in about 5 minutes, even with a broke down voice. The more you help me, the less I strain. Here's the deal. I didn't like chores. Nobody liked chores growing up. But chores taught me how to keep a house. My mama and my daddy was preparing me for a future that I didn't see. That if you don't learn how to fold towels, wash and dry clothes, still working on what it means to put clothes away. I haven't mastered that yet. If they didn't train me on washing dishes, we call them busting suds. Y'all got dishwashers. If they didn't train me on how to run my future, I'd be incapable of handling what was next. And so God says, I know you don't see where I'm taking you, but this lesson is vital for where I'm taking you in the future. And so then, here's what he is further expressing to us. He's telling us to sit back with an ink pen and take copious notes as this invaluable opportunity is revealing what you need to see. Never waste the storm. Never waste a storm. You find out who your supporters are. You find out, can I use this word, who your haters are. You find out who with you, who's against you. You find out what type of resilience you got. Take copious notes. He said this is an invaluable opportunity. In other words, you're in development. Can you just say that to your neighbor, even if you didn't come with them? Say, you're in development. Say it one more time to somebody else. Find somebody. You're in development. Now, this modern day age of photography makes you forget where photography came from. You all are able to post beautiful pictures because of modern day digital photography. But before that was digital photography, there used to be things called dark rooms. And a photographer could only develop pictures in a dark room. The light would actually mess up the picture. And the photographer would have to spend countless time developing through solution and dipping this paper that the picture went on and making this picture such that he would be worthy of his photography. But when he turned the lights on, he revealed to the world the masterpiece of his photographic lens. Here's what y'all have to understand is that it looks dark because you're being developed. And when God turns the lights on, which leads me now to the promise. Leads me to the promise. That's the problem, that's the purpose, that's the promise. In verse 3, James says, for you know that when, not if, your faith is tested, it stirs up in you, check this out, the power of endurance. And then as your endurance grows even stronger, it will release perfection into every part of your being until there is nothing missing. Thank you for that, because they ain't hearing me. They still got to wake up and nothing lacking. The enemy thought this was going to rob you because he came to steal, kill, and destroy. But God says when this is over and you take inventory, nothing missing, nothing lacking. Nothing missing, nothing lacking. Nothing lacking, nothing missing. Nothing missing, nothing lacking. The enemy thought you were being deducted, but God was adding. Woo! Now, walk with me for a second about, he says, what will grow? Your endurance will grow stronger. Your endurance will go stronger. And essentially what he is saying is what you need for life after the storm is what's most important to this development. All right, y'all may not have run track, but I would say I was a pretty good track runner. I ran the mile relay, and the 800. And what's a beautiful thing about running long distances is that it's different than a sprinter. Sprinter is you have to time it, but it's all out, boom. And 100 meters, you got to roll. But distance, you can't give all your energy. And I'll never forget at Clark Junior High School, Mr. Woods, God may you rest in peace, would train us for long distance. So we started off with cross country in preparation for the track season. He says, I need to get you all in condition for the track season. So we would get out there and we would run in places of East St. Louis that I didn't even know existed. And we would get these lovely things called dog intervals. It's when a dog would chase you. And in those moments, he knew they were there. We would have to outrun the dog and then pace ourselves because the dog has a certain limit. It will follow you and it will stop and turn back home. And so we would have to pace ourselves in order to meet a certain time requirement. Then when it came time for the cross-country meet, we would go at Frank Holton Park and we would run around the lake and around, and it would be dirt and mud and inclement weather, and we would run in all kinds of crazy conditions. But when track season comes, you would get all these cute, very robust, I was skinny mini, had all these strong-looking dudes look like they've been 50 since they was 2, right? And get out there, and they would be running, and they would get all the lead, and they would look good. Folk on the sidelines at Parsons Field, if y'all don't remember, we didn't have a track. We had sut. You ran in gravel and sut. And they would, family be like, go Motorbug, them hood names. Now, you didn't say go Raphael. It was go Motorbug, go. Family be like, he gonna win. But we knew a mile race was 4 laps. So first 2 laps, they rolling out, and we just... When the coach gave us the signal, it's time to go, about a lap and a half out from the final, all these little skinny leg boys from Clark Junior High School would start moving. You catch up the next little motorbug say all kinds, how y'all beat me, man? and we just going on in, rolling right to the finish line. We were coming first, second, third. We was running the city. And what I learned is that each race made our endurance grow for the next race. And so here is what I'm here to tell you all in this example. One, God don't want you moving too fast because you'll run out of strength. Two, hallelujah to God. God is building your capacity for your next race. It ain't even about what's happening now. It's about what's next. Now, notice the text. For you know, I should have made this 2 parts. For you know that when your faith is tested, it stirs. I have to admit to you all that I have failed as a parent of my son, Josiah. He likes iced coffee. I have miserably failed my child. I am a hot coffee drinker. I believe in the holiness of hot coffee. I believe the bean was made to be boiled and not iced. And so he prefers iced coffee, and he doesn't oppose hot coffee. He simply says iced coffee doesn't scold his tongue. But he's an expert at ordering it. He orders it upside down, but it normally comes right side up. For those of you who are not coffee drinkers, let's go to school, barista school 101. As you notice in this picture, you see the milky substance at the bottom. You see the darker substance at the top. So when you're making iced coffee, the barista takes the cup, puts ice cubes, God forbid, this monstrosity, puts ice cubes in there, pours in the milk, pours in the caramel drizzle, pours in some cocoa, and sweetens it, then pours the bitter coffee up top. The inexperienced person drinks it and gets mad because they are not tasting the caramel drizzle. But the person who understands coffee understands that to get it, I need to stir it so that what's at the bottom comes to the top, so that when I consume it, it's sweet to my taste buds. God is simply using the storm to stir what's on the inside. Woo. He says, why? Because you get endurance, you'll grow stronger. Let me tell y'all something. This trial you're facing made a mistake coming to your address. Why? Because it came to take you under. But God is using it to bring you over. Notice the promise. For you know that when your faith is tested, it stirs up for you the power of endurance, which means your future is already prepared for. And then as your endurance grows, he goes on to share with us, as your endurance grows, then you will also grow stronger, and it will release perfection in every part of your being until there's nothing missing. Okay, I need to get a little churchy here. I'm getting everything that the enemy has stolen, tried to steal, acted like he was going to steal, almost had, but couldn't get all of it. I'm getting what? I want all of it. I want what he said. I want what he tried to lie on me about. I want all of it. Woo. Hallelujah to God. We're working it out. We're working it out. I love it. I love it. I love it. Here's what you need to understand. Simon, don't overcompensate. I'm good. I'll stay in the pocket, and I'll be right at the same note. Come on, go find me whatever note I am. He plays it, I find it. I want to talk to you real quickly, and this is where we get to the real... He cracking up. We want to talk about what it really means, the battleground of faith. I want to get to the nitty-gritty of this talk today. The battleground of your faith leads us to ask the question, where does our faith come from? And how does our faith grow? And what's the big deal about our faith? So let's answer the first question. Where does our faith come from? In Romans 12:3, the Apostle Paul gives us the origins of our faith. I ain't talking saving faith. I'm just talking believing faith. Now, here's what he says. He goes into extensive measures in Romans 12:3. He says, because God has given me a special gift. Paul is talking about the gift of God on his life. I have something to say to everyone among you. He says, don't think yourself as being more swaggy than you are. He says, now, you must decide what you really are. In other words, are you going to be really engaged in God, or are you going to keep double dutching with God? He says, you must decide what you really are by the amount of faith God has what? So then faith comes from God, which means faith is a gift from God to us. Faith is a gift from God to us. When you were in your mama's womb, God gave you faith. Y'all don't believe me? You wasn't even a child of God and you called on God. How did you know he was there? How did you even have an idea to call on God? Now, y'all got all fancy names for it today because they ain't even trying to hijack what God deposited in you in your mama's womb. He's trying to make it universe and vibration and energy. But God is saying, I need y'all to understand that I deposited in you while you were still being conceived in your mama's womb. Y'all like, what are you at? Y'all remember that time that you had no idea how you was getting through it and you said, God, I need help. And God intervened and you knew it was God. God says, I gifted you that faith. Which tells me something, that since faith comes from God, then you have the now ask the question, can I grow my faith? Since it's a gift, can I grow it? Can I add to it? So then now we have to ask the question, what is this precedent in Scripture? So when you're studying the Bible, you need to find, what did the first audience hear? Remember the time that Jesus was explaining about forgiveness to the disciples and says, you need to forgive them 7 times in a day. Then 70 times 7. And the disciple says, man, God, increase my faith. That's found in St. Luke 17:5. In other words, they're not saying, God, I don't believe you. I need more faith to release them from what they've done. That doesn't mean we restore the relationship. It means I trust you more to avenge me. The apostles give precedent that your faith can be increased. Now, if your faith can be increased, then how do you grow your faith? See, here's the powerful reality of our battleground. The Bible says in Romans 10:17, so faith comes by hearing. Hearing by, faith comes by, hearing by. So when God gives you faith, it would be equivalent, if I could speed forward to Christmas. He gives you faith. I already know some of y'all have already picked out your matching pajamas already. I want you to journey to Christmas with me and ask you a question. When you don't know what to buy a person, what do you get them? The gift card is a sign of a promise if activated. The gift card is a sign of a promise yet to be activated. Okay, let me help some of y'all out because y'all fancy. We so cool, I got you a gift card to Saks Fifth. I know, I see y'all there. We so cool, I got you a gift card to Gucci. I know your taste buds. You're fancy. I know you so well, I got you a gift card to a specialty shoe store for your Nikes. Your Warrens, special design. I got you. Love you. Now, that gift card means nothing if it sits in its wrapping and stays in your house. In fact, the stores even say you got a certain amount of time. The gift card is one thing that has the potential to buy multiple things, but only when it's activated. Which means if I'm at Saks and I get you a Saks card, I just can't get $100 because that's going to get you a string. So if I really like you, I got to load that card up, and that one card can get you multiple things. See, God is saying, I deposited faith, but you got to activate it. And when you activate it, you can get multiple things. I'm almost done. So then faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the... Can I tell y'all, if faith comes by hearing the word, the enemy's objective has been to get you distance and separated from the avenue of hearing the word of God. I want to help y'all out. Y'all thought that we was asking y'all to come to church for our egos, so we can tell people how big our churches are. When the faithful pastor has been asking you to come to church, not because of ego, but your faith depends on hearing the... Whew. Okay. So ask yourself, what's been stopping you from the place that gives you a faith in the word of God to make that faith grow? So faith comes by hearing, which means the more I hear, the more my faith grows. The more I hear, the more my faith grows. The more I hear, the more my faith grows. So what would be the objective of the enemy? It's to disconnect you from the places of your feeding. And I'm going to tell y'all something. Some of y'all quit coming to church because the pandemic got you in the habit. I get that. It's time to overcome that. Some of you don't come to church or struggle with it because somebody in the church offended you. And let me tell you right now, PSA, public service announcement, where God is taking me, I won't allow offense to stop me from being in the place. We ain't drive here together, so why I'm gonna stop coming to the well that fills my heart? We ain't going home together. We ain't sleeping in the same bed together. So why I'm gonna let an offense stop me from getting what I need for my life? Which means I got to be mature enough to separate why I'm here versus who's here. Why? Because my future. In fact, John 20:31 says, these things were written that you may believe. So if they were written that I may believe, they were written that I may believe, which means I can only hear in the environment of hearing. Which means if I believe, it's because I've heard, and I can only hear if I show up. Could it be that the enemy is gaining traction because you're still using 1990s faith to fight a 2022 demon? Can I tell y'all something? Grandma's faith ain't everlasting. Her faith got you to the place where now you have to grow your faith. The enemy is only hitting you because you're disconnected from the arena that builds your faith. All right, let's help y'all out. Okay, I feel this one in my spirit. My spirit. Some of y'all have put a relationship above the relationship. Woo! I promise y'all I need overtime today. The truth of the matter is that relationship will give you the joy and the goosebumps for a season. Have y'all ever went to the carnival and got a tattoo? Okay, 5 of y'all have. But y'all like, what? I got the real ink right here, Pastor. It's fine. I ain't knocking you. I'm just talking about a circus tattoo. So we couldn't get them back in the day, and so we go to the circus and act like we was grown, we get a tattoo. And what happens with that tattoo is that by the time you leave, see, the moment in that relationship is great, but time. And then you're left more empty, wondering, what do you do with the pieces that were broken? I ain't trying to knock you. I ain't knocking nothing. I don't know nobody. But what I'm trying to get you to understand is that your faith is being strategically attacked by not connecting to the place of hearing. Okay. All right. So then if our faith is built by what we hear, then I need to make it a point to be in the place to hear. Because any promise is preceded by a planting and a watering of the word of God in our hearts. So let me fast forward. Joshua, come here, and I'm out your way. Joshua, y'all know Joshua, the man of promise that God was going to give the land of promise to. He's the understudy of Moses, and now it's time to walk into the land of promise. You would think that God would give the man a strategy with military. You would think that God would give him an invention to kill the enemies. You would think God would give him a nice supply of swords and spears and arrows. Here's what God says. He said, I'm going to use you, man. As I was with Moses, I will be with you. You got one thing I need you to do. Can we read this together? It's right there, verse 8. This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous. And then, let's leave that up there. I need to get this, y'all. Y'all got to get this. Notice what God gives Joshua is an enduring strategy. He didn't say, I need you to march around this particular spot just to win all the war. He says, I'll give you strategy, but I need something on the inside of you that says you are ready. He said, this book of the law, don't depart. What's causing you to depart? What's enchanting you? What's luring you? What's luring you away from the place of feeding? All right? He says, let it not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate. He says, take this serious in it day and night, so that you might be careful to do everything in it. For then, read that last part with me. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. Now, the word good is a qualifier that implies that it's bad. When you have to lie, cheat, steal, sabotage, and betray people to get to the top, then that's why you are aging. You are 30 looking like you're 80. Because the wicked will not prosper. Y'all missed the point. Because you have to keep lying, cheating, and pillaging to keep the position or the opportunity. But when God sets you up, he giveth his beloved good sleep. What God gives, he adds no sorrow. I want good success. I want the kind of success that I can be happy and clear. My conscience is clear, and I don't have to sustain it because God is the keeper. All right? So if faith comes by hearing, so does doubt. If faith comes by hearing, so does doubt. Doubt comes by hearing, and hearing by doubters. The question I have for those who are listening to me today, really the statement then the question. More people than not are being plucked from God because of who and what they are ingesting in their spirit. Sometimes it's an innocent rabbit hole journey on TikTok. Now you believe in aliens and Anunnakis. Sometimes it's a disgruntled friend or relative with church. Sometimes it's a wandering mind that's unchecked by the Holy Spirit. Can I tell y'all right now that part of your doubt is because of who you hang around? An age-old principle is found in 1 Corinthians 15 and 33. And I forget which one go pop up because I got 3 versions. Here's what it says. Do not be fooled. Bad friends will ruin. You could be walking by faith. God, I trust you. God, I believe you. I shall have it all. Oh, God, I trust you. God, I believe you. I shall have it all. And then you start talking to somebody who ain't on the same, okay, since y'all want to be metaphysical, energy level. And you start talking to them about the great things God has deposited in your spirit. And before you know it, you walk out of that talk with them from being absolutely absolutely confident that it's going to happen, to now believing if you was a fool forever believing that something like that could happen in your life. It wasn't that God revoked it, it's that you shared it with the wrong folk. Bad friends, bad boys. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Nobody now getting no. Okay. Here's the thing, there are some bad friends. There's some bad connections. There are some bad communications that's uprooting your faith. The Living Bible says it this way. Don't be fooled by those who say such things. If you listen to them, you'll start acting like them. I got 2 more scriptures and I'm going to let y'all go. Whew. Lord Jesus. Be a chicken wing for my dinner, Jesus. When you're in warfare, you must understand that the enemy knows that your connection to God is based on your faith tank containing something on the inside. You can today decide to take a journey somewhere, but if ain't nothing in that tank, and y'all know gas has been a very pricey subject matter. Many of y'all close your eyes, count to 100, and when you hear that pump click, you don't even look at it, you just put it back on. You just pray that one day you can figure it out. And you understand that to go anywhere, you need something in the tank. So let me share with you one last story. Peter, talking to Jesus, man. Talking to Jesus, right? He like, hey, Jesus. You know, Peter feeling real good. Peter, you know, one of the chief apostles. Peter like, hey, Jesus, I ain't never gonna turn my back on you. I'm with you, ride or die. We got this. Battle Royale, Jesus, we won. Game time, all, you know, and we throw our hands up and leave them there, and leave them there, and leave them there, and leave them there. That's what Peter was saying. Peter was saying that. Peter was saying, I throw my hands up, I leave it there, leave it there, leave it there. It's up and it's stuck, it's up and it's stuck, it's up and it's stuck, it's up and it's stuck. Leave it there. Peter was all in for Jesus. I got to bring it to y'all level. Y'all just got to make sure y'all understand. We hear stuff too. And Jesus gives the greatest clap back, but he gives a strategy. Notice what he says in Luke 22, 31 and 32. It'll show up in a second. Luke 22, 31 and 32. Jesus says to Simon, who is Peter, he says, Satan has asked to. Sifting is a process where the barley is separated from the wheat and the tare. That which is uncomely is beat off of that which is comely. And that bag has a thing that allows that which is uncomely, that which is unwanted to fall through while the seed is remaining. But there's a beating process. And then there's a gentle process. The enemy will subtly sift you. Subtly sift you. And you'll be wondering, how is it I don't believe like I used to? How is it I don't trust like I used to? How is it when worship happens, I don't get in it like I used to? Why is it I don't even want to open my Bible anymore? The enemy is sifting you as wheat. Notice what Jesus says. But I have prayed for you, Simon, that your faith may not fail. Notice he didn't say, I have prayed and rebuked the devil. Jesus says, oh, I'm going to let him come for you. My only request is that your faith don't buckle. Let's go a step further and look at the prophetic realities of Jesus. And when you have turned back, he says, you go drift, but I put something on the inside. I want to go to town on this one. When you have turned back, go and tell them other knuckleheads who left me to get back in position because you passed the test. What was the test? Your faith. Jesus didn't say if he comes, he says when he comes. I pray that your faith, not that your money is up, not that your house is cool, not that your health is perfect, but that your faith. Because if I got faith, I'll have the house. If I got faith, I'll have the healing. If I got faith, I'll have the other stuff. So brothers and sisters, as I close out today, I want to bring your attention to one last scripture found in the book of Hebrews, the 11th chapter. It is called the roll call of faith. And here the writer of Hebrews gives us some truths that we need to pay attention to. He says, and without faith, it is impossible to please God. He says, because anyone who comes to him, ain't he all right, must believe that he exists. Ain't he all right? And he rewards. I'm so excited about that part because when I got faith, I can expect a reward. He rewards those who earnestly, the word earnestly means I don't stop believing, I don't stop trusting, I don't stop asking. He says earnestly, I'll seek him when I have nothing. I'll seek him when it looks cloudy. I'll seek him when they walk out on me. I'll seek him when they lie on me. Do I got anybody who can rap back and say yeah? I'm so glad as I take my seat that faith demands a reward. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that faith opens the door that was closed. I'm so glad that faith moves mountains. I may not have the stuff, but I got faith. I may not have what I prayed for yet. Nudge a neighbor and say yet, but it's on the way. Yet, but it's on the way. Woo! The text proves to us why the enemy been hitting you so hard. Because he knows that without faith, you miss the smile of God. The Bible says God the Father smiled on Jesus and said, "This is my son, in whom I'm well pleased." Brothers and sisters, take everything, but you can't have my faith. Because my faith gives me recovery. My faith opens doors that were impossible. Some of y'all feel it. You've been sifted for a while. It's been about 1 year to 3 years of sifting. Because the enemy knows. He's tried Job to take your stuff, to take your children, to take your house. He's compromised your savings. But that didn't do nothing to you because you still came to church and worshiped. The enemy came for most important thing he came for was the access to all that for your faith. The battleground is the enemy knows that without faith, it's impossible to please God. But he that comes to God must believe that he is or that he exists. Hasn't the enemy been challenging you? Is God real? Would God allow this to happen to you? And I can't explain everything I've gone through in life. I can't even say I wanted half the stuff I went through. But what I can tell you is that it made me a more grateful and robust child of God. See, faith is a secret sauce. We built this building on faith. We didn't have the money. We had faith. We moved in the things of God for 22 years on faith. I'm here to tell you all, the resume of faith will never be compromised in my life. Here's why. God, okay, let me give it to you in the way of a song. He didn't bring you this far. Can we stand all over the house? Prayer counselors, would you please come? My brothers and sisters, you've just heard a word and your heart might be prompted to say, what must I do to be a part of the kingdom of God? Well, I'm going to tell you, it's quite simple. The Bible says in Romans 10:10 that if we would confess with our mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in our heart that God raised him from the grave, we would be saved. Yes, coming into relationship with Jesus as Savior is just that simple. So I want you to repeat after me, and then I want you to consider what the next steps are. So say this prayer with me. Lord Jesus, I confess you as my Lord and Savior. I believe that God raised you from the grave for the remission of my sins. I thank you and ask that you come into my heart, fill me with the Holy Spirit, and we thank you for making me a child of God. In Jesus' name. If you prayed that prayer, welcome to the family of God. All of heaven is throwing a party because of you. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for your generosity. This is an opportunity that I don't take for granted. I want to let you know that every donation goes towards expanding the kingdom, providing hope to communities, bringing families together, and helping people set the course towards purpose. Your generosity makes all of that happen. So I encourage you and thank you at the same time. Now, here are some instructions, some housekeeping items as a part of Living the Word Church. We need to make certain that in order for us to allocate resources properly, especially assign those resources to your name, that when you're giving via Cash App, that you put your full name in the memo line. We definitely understand the actual handles can be different and quirky and all kinds of names, but in order for us to allocate those resources to your name, just in the memo, put your full name in the memo. In addition, when you're giving via check, or if you're filling out an envelope, it is essential that you fill out all of the details so we can properly allocate those resources to your household. Let's go deeper and let's trust that God has even more as we sow today. Thank you.